Here we go again. It's really sickening, and the way our politics is playing out these days, and all of the mess that's going on. People that want to be president, congressmen or senators, want to assert their values upon the rest of the world. But before I get started on the issue that I was going to record, I had a little message for everybody. And it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is or who you vote for. I got a suggestion for everybody that I believe should be a core value of every American if they're of the age and can get some identification, or if you have identification already, go and register to vote. A lot of lives, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering have been put historically in that right to vote. It's a right. It's not a privilege. It's not something that anyone should be able to take away from you in America. But because state legislators and federal legislation dictate who can and who can't vote, and the requirements for the vote, to be able to vote, you need an identification to get a voter's registration card and to go to the polls and vote. I'm sure in some states, I don't know how it's going to play out in my state, Louisiana, just yet. I hadn't had any problems so far, but the general election for the President of the United States is coming up in November, and there's no telling what each one of the parish voter registrations offices will be doing at the polling places. So it's best to be prepared. Have an identification, state identification. Have your voter's registration card with the proper address on it, and those type of things. If you moved and you have a driver's license, you can go to the DMV and get a address sticker put on it, on the back of it, or get another license with your correct address on it. It's simple to do. It might take a few minutes of your time, but in the long run it's worth it, because this election is coming up between President Obama and this guy Mitt Romney is a very, very important election. Okay, so please, whatever you do, get yourself together, get your identification, get a voter's registration card, and that's in any state that may happen to run across this on YouTube and listen to it. That is my suggestion. Do the right thing, be prepared, just in case. Some states may not require you to go and do all of this stuff, but there's legislation in most states across the United States right now that's putting into place laws that's going to disenfranchise a lot of people because they don't have a voter's registration card or state ID. So make sure you try to get that. As for the subject I was going to discuss, the presidential election, I don't know how many people watch the news, especially national news such as Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, or read the newspaper, USA Today, or some national news, the national newspaper, which you can get a lot of information out of, rather than from your local newspaper, because your local newspapers don't cover a lot of things except for what may be happening in your state or in your city or your parish or county. But the politics that's going on in our nation right now, if you ain't concerned, and especially if you are poor, living in poverty, low income, middle class person, you need to be really paying attention to what's going on in our politics right now. You know, you've seen over this last 3 years, you know, the Republican Party. You know, and I'm going to be upfront with myself about me. You know, I'm a progressive Democrat. You know, and I believe in the democratic values. I believe that our nation, our country, that we live in and that we pay tax to, you know, we deserve government services such as police, fires. You know, we have entitlement programs. We work. We look for retirement. You know, you work all your life. You expect to get something at the end of your working years. Based on what I've been seeing for the last 3 years of the Republican Party, you know, I can't see a future for me or any poor person or middle class or low income individual. I can't see a future to the top, you know, based on the way things are going. I mean, you know, it's always going to be places and spots where you make a few extra dollars here and there and you can be able to do well. But overall, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I pay taxes, I vote, and I vote for people who I believe when I go to the polls, they've convinced me that they're going to do the right thing. But what I've noticed is, and I don't believe, it's hard for me to believe that a poor person, a low income person, or a middle class person is going to vote for somebody that's going to go to Washington D.C. or to their state legislature for that matter, and start chipping away at their livelihood, you know, and provide shelters and tax breaks and give out state or government money to the wealthiest people and the wealthiest corporations in America so that they can strive. You know, every time I look at my energy bill or water bill of sort, you know, I see all these different little charges on there. You know, my electric bill has a charge on there, fuel charge. Okay, well, you're charging me X number of dollars for the fuel that you use to generate the electricity. Okay, then you're charging me a fee. Okay, for your equipment, for the use of your equipment, and then you're charging me some impact fee or some out of line something I don't understand. Okay. Yet you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars. You're receiving federal and in some cases state subsidies to help you operate, but you're charging the masses. The Republican Party for the last 3 years have just been attacking every social program, education, health services, public safety programs, you know, police and firefighters, people that take care of the highways, the roads, to pick up the trash, this, that, and another. They're trying to privatize it all. They want to privatize everything. You can't privatize law enforcement. You can't privatize firefighters. In Louisiana and probably in a bunch of other states, I know they've privatized a lot of the correctional places, centers, where they have, you know, some civilian running, you know, places of incarceration. So when you think about this election coming up in November, you need to be thinking along the lines of, are we or will we be better off with someone other than Barack Obama? My opinion, no. No, you won't be better off. Unless there's some secret going on that that's going to be for certain people. and not for others. You know, for someone like Mitt Romney to become president, it'd be probably worse than it was with George Bush, because he's already said, you know, he's going to roll back the health care programs. He's going to roll back on some of the educational programs. He's going to keep cutting away at these programs, cutting away. And he has a Senate, well, a House of Representatives, that is going to pass these laws. If they get a Senate that's Republican, those laws are going to make it to his desk for his signature. Now, I don't know if any of you saw this or may have read it in the paper somewhere, but they have this guy by the name of Grover Norquist. He's the guy that's against tax increases for any reason. Okay, especially against the corporations and millionaires, and he's gotten the majority of the Republican congressional representatives and senators to sign this pledge never to raise taxes under any circumstance. The only thing about it is, you know, they'll raise taxes, but they'll raise them on the lower income people by taking away some of the entitlements, some of the benefits, some of the public services, some of those things, to cut the budget, to so-called balance the budget. You know, they blame Barack Obama for this budget deficit. You know, Barack Obama's been in office for 3 years and right at 6 months. He spent about $5 trillion. He's added that much to the deficit. What the other 11,000 or 10 trillion is really from George W. Bush's era. Okay, and the way to solve that problem is to increase taxes, get rid of the Bush tax cuts. That puts $7 or $8 trillion back into the federal government's ability to pay its debts. But they're refusing to do that. But yet they want to dismantle or privatize or take away, you know, things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, the Postal Service. You know, they want to do all these cuts, and basically with Social Security they want to give it to somebody and let them manage it, some other financial corporation, let them manage it, which don't make sense, because anytime you take something away from the government and give it to a private entity, that private entity stands an opportunity of going bankrupt. So your entitlements from Social Security is going to be in jeopardy the whole time it's in the hands of some private organization. Medicare, they want to do the same thing with Medicare, yet give you X number of dollars that you can use to get your medical services. You know, and if it ain't enough, well, oh, too bad, that's got to come out of your pocket. Whereas you've paid probably, you know, the average person that works have been paying into Medicare or Medicaid since day one, since it was created in the 1960s. You know, so there's plenty of money there for it if they would quit robbing from those programs and taking money and using it for this and backing up wars and claiming they're going to put it back and stuff like that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, because you can't replace what you don't have. This budget battle, you know, and I just seen something about John Boehner hopping out, getting ready to start that issue all over again. It's only a distraction, just something to throw into the general election that's coming up in November, to create more havoc, to offset everything and throw things out of socket during the election time. You know, John Boehner's about an ignorant person as far as I'm concerned. You know, He's managed to come from being a modest person to being a rich person, so he could care less about me, you, or anyone that's not in Washington D.C. with him. He doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. Apparently he feels like he's got a really secure place where he's at. Or if he don't, he's a millionaire. He can retire. He's been there over 20 years. He can retire. He'll get a lucrative amount of money from the federal government for the rest of his life. And he'd just fade on off into the sunset and go play golf every day. That's something I understand he likes to do. And then you have this guy Mitch McConnell over in the Senate that's railing about everything that President Obama do. Here's a cat that just, he irks me because every time I look at him, I see the old white Southern boss. The old, kind of redneckish kind of guy, talking out the side of his mouth. And when he speaks about President Obama, he never called President Obama President Obama. He never used those two words in conjunction with each other. He either calls him this president, Obama, or that guy in the White House, of that nature. He's just one of them old school white folks. They grew up in Kentucky, in the South, during the periods of the